Apple's iPad is about to get a little bit cooler. Dan Gallagher, you have that story as well. Dan, tell us about this. I thought it was the coolest thing ever anywhere. Not, but anyway. No, do tell us, because there's a heat problem, isn't there, with Apple's new iPad?
Well, there's been a lot of reports about how the new iPad gets really warm as it works, especially if it's doing things like pulling down high-definition video or playing some graphic-intensive games. That's sort of normal with these devices, but because it's designed to play this high-def and surf on 4G, that taxes the battery, so it warms the device. So there's been a lot of reports about that. I'm not really sure if it's really affected sales much of the device. But a report I blogged about this morning, an analyst speculates that part of it may be the fact that they used an older chip by Qualcomm to manage the connection, a baseband chip, and that as Qualcomm puts out new chips later this year, Apple might quietly put a new chip into the device and might help some of that heating issue.
Do you think, Mel, if you've got one that's been, oh, bless you, whoever that was, do you think if you've got one that tends to be overheating, you'll be able to take it back and get a new chip in it? Or is that unlikely?
I have no idea how Apple would manage that, but I don't suspect they would even announce if they updated the internal organs of the device. They haven't really done that before. Apple doesn't sell these things, marketing, who's doing the baseband chip and everything else. So they could probably just quietly change the insides of it like they might. They might also do that with other components. So I'm not sure it would be a big marketing event that would have people coming back and forth to do returns.
And Apple's position on this last week was, our iPad's great, it's awesome, it's within the acceptable thermal limits, I think they used the line.
The acceptable thermal limits.
And the hysteria around this is funny because people said, oh, there's a flaw in the iPad. That's a very exciting story. Consumer Reports came out and said, the iPad's warm. But if you actually read the story down at the bottom, they said, well, we tested it, and it's actually not very hot. It's warm, but not uncomfortably so. And, no one who's using it seems to have real complaints. But this stuff does resonate. I was talking to someone who's not in the tech world at all this weekend. They said, yeah, I heard the new iPad 3, it gets too hot, right? And I said, not really. Uncomfortable, not uncomfortably warm. I said, oh, well, that's not a big deal.
Well, the thing I still worry about with the heat is whether it burns through the battery or any of the functional parts. And I know that happened with a lot of my old MacBooks when they had a heating problem with the battery.
You should set up your own independent testing laboratory, Simon.
Really, and burn through those.
You seem like you have a good handle on this.
Good. I have a good handle on burning through hard disks of old Apple Apple laptops. Anyway, Dan, so when can we expect anything to happen with this? This won't happen soon, will it?
We don't really know because when Qualcomm and companies like that put out new chips, they're not exactly put out with a big press release and a launch date the way we see with consumer electronics products. They tend to quietly ship them to their customers. Qualcomm's very quiet about its business with Apple, so it's not going to really say, hey, we're now shipping this new chip to them. So honestly, we probably really won't know unless some later devices get in the hands of these teardown people that will look at it and say, hey, they've updated this and this, and that's what we might find out.
Okay, when that happens, we'll love to hear about it. Thank you very much. Dan Gallagher of Market Watch coming to us from San Francisco.